The secret language of charisma. Mastering warmth and competence. Have you ever met someone who instantly drew you in with their presence? Perhaps they made you feel important with a simple smile, or impressed you with how confidently they carried themselves. That magnetic quality we call charisma often feels mysterious, but in truth, it's driven by specific social signals, or cues, that anyone can learn to send. Psychology tells us that first impressions form in mere seconds, and most of what we communicate doesn't come from our words at all. In fact, our tone of voice and body language convey the majority of our intent, often overriding the literal meaning of our words. In this deep dive, we'll explore the science behind these cues and how they shape the way others see us. Picture yourself walking into a room full of strangers. Within moments, you notice who seems approachable, who commands respect, and who might be nervous, all without anyone saying a word. How? You're subconsciously reading cues, a friendly eye crinkle in someone's smile, a confident upright posture across the room, or perhaps jittery hands fiddling with a phone. We all send signals like these constantly, and others are interpreting them whether we realize it or not. The great news is that charisma isn't an inborn magic trait. It's a set of behaviors we can break down, understand, and practice. By mastering the twin pillars of charisma, warmth, and competence, you can radically transform your interactions. In this audiobook-style guide, we'll uncover the subtle cues that project warmth and those that signal competence. We'll back up key ideas with scientific research, from studies on body language and microexpressions to the psychology of leadership and attraction. Along the way, we'll visit different real-life settings, the workplace, social gatherings, public speaking, dating, to see charisma in action and share relatable stories of how adjusting one's cues can change one's life. By the end, you'll not only understand the secret language of charismatic communication, you'll have concrete tips to start speaking it. So, get comfortable and let's dive in. The charisma equation: warmth plus competence. What is charisma exactly? Psychologists have found that our impressions of others boil down to two main questions. Do I like this person? And can I respect this person? In other words, we evaluate warmth, friendliness, trustworthiness, and competence, capability, confidence, almost immediately when meeting someone. Truly charismatic people excel at both. As neatly put by behavioral researchers, warmth plus competence are charisma. Think of warmth and competence as the X and Y axes of a graph. If you're high on warmth but low on competence, others might find you lovable but not take you seriously. Imagine a super nice colleague who's always kind, yet others overlook their ideas because they don't seem confident or capable. On the flip side, high competence with low warmth might earn respect but create distance. People may admire your skills but feel you're unapproachable or even intimidating. The worst zone is having neither warmth nor competence cues. You come off as both cold and inept, a perception everyone wants to avoid. But if you can project both warmth and competence, you hit the sweet spot, the charisma zone, where people feel both connected to you and confident in you. Striking this balance is the key. It's not about faking anything or being inauthentic. It's about dialing up the right signals at the right time. For instance, in a job interview, you might want to emphasize competence cues to showcase your skills and confidence while still using enough warmth so you seem personable. In a heart-to-heart talk with a friend, warmth might take the front seat, but a dash of competent calm can reassure them you have things under control. Charismatic individuals intuitively adjust their blend of warmth and competence to fit the context, and we can learn to do the same. Before we explore specific situations, let's break down what warmth and competence cues actually look like. Once you know the signals, you can mix them like ingredients in a recipe for any social setting. The power of warmth. Warmth cues, are the signals that foster trust, likability, and emotional safety. They are your way of saying to others, I'm friendly, I care about you, and you can relax with me. These cues invite people in. They're often conveyed through body language and tone rather than the content of what you say. Some classic warmth cues include a genuine smile. A real smile, sometimes called a Duchenne smile, lights up your eyes as well as your mouth. It's one of the most universally recognized signals of friendliness. When you greet someone with a sincere smile, you immediately put them at ease. On the flip side, a forced or tense smile can have the opposite effect. We subconsciously detect something's off, perhaps through tiny facial microexpressions. Speaking of which, even if we try to hide our true feelings, our faces often give a quick flash of them. Scientists famously found that microexpressions, fleeting facial expressions, can last as little as 1/25 of a second and expose a person's true emotions. So, if you're faking warmth but internally feeling annoyed, a micro grimace or eye roll could slip through for a split second. We may not consciously see that micro cue, but our brains pick up the discord. The lesson? It helps if your warmth is coming from a genuine place, or at least a positive mindset, because our faces tend to leak the truth. Open and inviting body language. How you physically position yourself can scream either come closer or stay away. Warmth is shown through open body language, keeping your torso and arms uncrossed and relaxed, facing people you're interacting with, and perhaps leaning in slightly when someone is speaking to you. These behaviors signal that you're engaged and not putting up barriers. For example, fronting, turning your belly and toes toward the person, and leaning forward a bit are cues that say, I'm interested in you. In contrast, a person who stands with arms tightly folded and body angled away may, often unintentionally, broadcast detachment or disapproval. We tend to interpret a closed posture as a lack of warmth or openness, eye contact, and attentive listening. There are few warmth cues as powerful as giving someone your undivided attention. This means making comfortable eye contact, not a hard stare, but meeting their gaze regularly, and responding to what they say with nods or small sounds, vocal encouragers. Steady eye contact in particular has been shown to build trust. One experiment found that listeners were significantly more likely to believe statements from a speaker who looked them in the eye versus one who averted their gaze. We've all felt this. When someone looks at us while we talk, we sense that they're present and sincere. Neuroscience even shows that eye contact can synchronize brain activity between two people, essentially putting them on the same wavelength. It's no surprise that maintaining eye contact, within cultural comfort limits, can communicate closeness and understanding. In fact, psychologists have observed that eye contact tends to improve rapport and make interactions feel more personal and intimate. So, a simple way to appear warmer is to truly listen with your eyes as well as your ears. Look at the person, absorb their words, and show that you care. Mirroring and matching, the chameleon effect. Warm individuals often subconsciously mirror the gestures, posture, or tone of the person they're interacting with. If your friend leans in, you might do the same. If they speak softly, you soften your voice. This isn't about mimicry for its own sake, but about creating a comfortable in-sync feeling. Social scientists call this the chameleon effect, and it's been found to increase likability. In one notable study, when experimenters subtly mirrored the body language of participants, those participants later reported smoother conversations and greater liking for the experimenter. In other words, copying someone's nod or posture here and there, gently and naturally, can make them feel we're on the same page. We tend to feel warmer towards people who are similar to us, even in the momentary way that mirroring creates. You can practice this by paying attention to the other person's rhythm and cues. If they gesture a lot, you use your hands more. If they pause, you pause. Done empathetically, mirroring signals affinity, friendly, inclusive language and tone, your voice and words can also radiate warmth. Speaking in a kind, enthusiastic tone, as opposed to a flat or harsh one, makes a big difference. Try using positive or inclusive words. For example, saying we can figure this out instead of you need to fix this instantly builds camaraderie. Even just remembering and using someone's name in conversation can make them feel acknowledged. In moderation, of course. The idea is to make others feel valued. If you crack a genuine smile while talking or laugh at someone's jokes, if appropriate, your vocal warmth shines through. Studies on communication show that people remember not just what you said, but how you made them feel. Warmth cues ensure the feeling you leave them with is a good one. Warmth cues are particularly important because they answer that fundamental question people have about you. Are you on my side? Warm signals trigger feelings of comfort and trust. As noted by researchers, prioritizing warmth helps you connect immediately with those around you, showing them you're trustworthy and understanding. Once that connection is established, people becomes more open to seeing your strengths. Charisma starts with making that human connection. Before moving on, an important point, warmth must be balanced. Being warm doesn't mean being a pushover or always smiling incessantly. It means invitational body language, genuine interest, and kindness within the appropriate context. For example, in a serious business meeting, warmth might simply be listening intently and nodding, not necessarily cracking jokes every minute. And warmth also isn't one size fits all across cultures. Eye contact or touch, for instance, can mean different things in different places. But as a general rule, if you can make someone feel seen and appreciated, you're using warmth effectively. Next, we'll look at the other side of charisma's coin, the cues that signal competence and confidence. The power of competence. Cues, if warmth cues, say I care about you. Competence cues say I know what I'm doing. These signals project credibility, capability, and confidence. They assure people that you're competent, skilled, and worth listening to. While warmth draws people in, competence inspires respect. Both are needed for charisma in tandem. Competence cues often come through how you carry yourself, speak, and act. Here are some key examples. Confident posture and body alignment. The way you stand or sit can exude competence before you even utter a word. Think of someone who appears strong and self-assured. They likely have an upright posture, shoulders back, head held high, and feet planted firmly, about shoulder width apart if standing. This expansive posture inherently signals that you are comfortable and in control. In everyday life, simply not slouching can make a dramatic difference. If you tend to hunch over or tuck your arms in, try opening up a bit more. Not only does this look more confident, but some research, albeit contested, even suggests that expansive postures can make you feel more powerful by affecting hormone levels. At the very least, standing tall can improve your mindset. Remember, take up space within reason. Whether it's planting your feet firmly or using the armrests of a chair, these nonverbal cues telegraph that you have a right to be there and to be heard. Purposeful gestures and precision. Competence is also signaled by how you move when you speak. Using your hands to gesture can emphasize points, but competent people tend to have more controlled gestures. Rather than fidgeting or flailing randomly, they might use a few deliberate hand movements. For example, a subtle hand chop to stress a key point, or steepling the fingers, which often is seen as a confident pose. These precise gestures reflect clear thinking and self-assurance. On the other hand, nervous fidgeting, tapping your foot incessantly, playing with your hair, or wringing your hands, can undermine an image of competence. Those leaky movements suggest anxiety or uncertainty. To project competence, aim for calm and steady actions. If you need something to do with your hands, hold a pen or use them to confidently animate your speech, rather than touching your face or neck, common self-soothing gestures that signal discomfort. Stillness at the right moments also conveys authority. Think of a speaker who stands quietly for a beat after asking a rhetorical question. It shows poise and control. A strong handshake, or confident greeting. In many cultures, the handshake is an age-old competence cue. A firm, full-handed handshake, not a bone crusher, but with some vigor and eye contact, immediately creates an impression of confidence. In fact, a study in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found a substantial correlation between a firm handshake and a favorable first impression. The study noted that grip, strength, vigor, duration, eye contact, all components of a good handshake, were linked to people rating the person as more positive and competent. First impressions matter, and something as simple as the way you introduce yourself physically can tilt that impression in your favor. Now, not every interaction begins with a handshake, and in some cases, like virtual meetings or in pandemic times, we skip it, but the principle extends to your initial greeting posture and tone. For example, if you're not shaking hands, a confident head nod or a warm hello with direct eye contact can set a similar tone of assured friendliness. Vocal clarity and confident tone. Your voice is one of the most powerful competence instruments you have. How you say something often influences people more than what you say. Key vocal cues for competence include speaking in a steady, well-paced manner, using a stronger voice, not a meek mumble, and ending sentences decisively rather than turning them into questions. Avoid uptalk when you're making statements. What this means for you is not that you should artificially drop your voice, but be mindful of speaking from your diaphragm, your support, to avoid a weak or squeaky tone when you want to appear confident. Also, watch out for vocal fry, that creaky, drawn-out tone at the end of sentences, and habitual filler words. In one experiment, recordings of voices were digitally raised or lowered, and listeners of both genders consistently chose leaders with lower voice tones, for both male and female voices. We unconsciously associate a deeper, resonant voice with strength and competence, perhaps an evolutionary bias, as larger animals have deeper calls. What this means for you is not that you should artificially drop your voice, but be mindful of speaking from your diaphragm, your support, to avoid a weak or squeaky tone when you want to appear confident. Also, watch out for vocal fry, that creaky, drawn-out tone at the end of sentences, and habitual filler words. Those can diminish the authoritative vibe of your speech. Instead, use pauses to gather your thoughts. A moment of silence can actually make you sound more in control than a string of ums. To practice vocal competence, try recording yourself and listening. Do you sound assured, energetic, and clear? If not, work on varying your intonation and eliminating uptalk fry so that your statements land with confidence. Assertive, concise language. Competence cues aren't only nonverbal. What you say can also boost or undermine your credibility. Pay attention to phrasing. For example, saying, "I have an idea that might help increase our sales by 10% comes across as more competent than, "This idea might be stupid, but maybe we could try to increase sales." The second is loaded with self-doubt. Try to avoid excessive qualifiers or apologies when they're not needed. Speak in a way that assumes your viewpoint has value while staying respectful. Even something as simple as stating your opinion directly. "I recommend we do X," rather than couching it. "I was just thinking if it's okay, maybe we could possibly do X." Makes a difference in how others perceive your competence. Being concise also signals you have command of your thoughts. Rambling or going in circles can erode the impression of competence. So structure your points and get to the key message. This doesn't mean you have to be unnaturally terse. You can speak at a normal pace and length, just without a lot of unnecessary beating around the bush. In short, own your words. When you do, people are more likely to trust that you know what you're talking about. In practice, competence cues answer the question on others' minds. Can I rely on this person's abilities? By standing tall, speaking confidently, and moving with purpose, you project an aura of capability. Interestingly, competence alone can intimidate if not balanced with warmth. You might have encountered a very competent boss or professor who nonetheless scared people. They had zero warmth, so their competence felt unapproachable. The goal, of course, is to have both elements working together. You want to be seen as capable and approachable. Now that we've detailed cues for each side of charisma, let's put them into context. How do warmth and competence play out in different everyday scenarios, from the office to dating? And how can you apply this knowledge in your own life? In the next sections, we'll explore charisma in action across various settings. Charisma in the workplace. In professional settings, the balance of warmth and competence cues can make or break opportunities. Whether you're interviewing for a job, leading a meeting, or collaborating with colleagues, people's perceptions of your abilities and intentions influence how they respond to you. Let's see how charisma cues work on the job, and how adjusting them can yield tangible benefits. First, impressions at work. Imagine two candidates walking into a job interview. The first, Alice, enters with a genuine smile and a poised posture. She makes eye contact with the interviewer and offers a firm handshake. As she sits, she appears attentive and composed, perhaps even mirroring the interviewer's calm demeanor. Right off the bat, Alice is radiating both warmth, smile, eye contact, and competence, good posture, handshake. The second candidate, Bob, rushes in a bit late, looking down at his shoes. His handshake is limp and he avoids direct gaze, mumbling a timid greeting. He slumps in the chair and fidgets with his pen. Bob might be just as technically qualified as Alice, but his cues scream nervousness and uncertainty rather than charisma. The interviewer's gut feeling will likely favor Alice. This scenario aligns with research. Interviewers often decide within minutes or seconds whom they prefer, based largely on nonverbal impressions. A confident posture and handshake alone can strongly boost your professional likability, while poor eye contact or restless movements can plant seeds of doubt. Daily office interactions. Once you're in the job, charisma still matters. In team meetings, a balance of warmth and competence helps you get your ideas across. For example, if you present an idea in a meeting, how you present is as important as what you present. Speak with a confident voice and clear points, competence, but also look around the room, making eye contact and even smiling or nodding to acknowledge others, warmth. If someone raises a concern or question, listen fully, warmth, and respond calmly and decisively, competence. Colleagues are more likely to back your idea if they sense that you believe in it and that you also respect them. Researchers from Harvard have noted that leaders who establish trust and warmth first can then deliver their competence more effectively. Employees are more receptive once they feel a personal connection. It's a bit like the saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. In practice, even in a technical discussion, small warmth cues like an open posture, a friendly tone, or using inclusive language, what do you all think, can make you come across as a confident and collegial leader, rather than a bossy know-it-all. Leadership and management. Charisma is often the X factor that separates merely competent managers from truly inspiring leaders. If you're in a leadership role, your team is constantly reading your cues to gauge morale and direction. During a stressful project, for instance, showing competence cues, a steady demeanor, clear instructions, decisiveness, reassures your team that you have things under control. But equally important is showing warmth, empathizing with the long hours they're putting in, smiling and encouraging them, maybe even sharing a lighthearted joke to ease tension. Leaders who balance these signals tend to foster loyalty. Employees feel they can trust their leader, warmth, and also learn from them, competence. If one is missing, problems arise. A very warm manager who never enforces deadlines or standards might be liked but not respected. A highly competent manager who never thanks or smiles at their team might meet targets but breed resentment or anxiety. Case study. Alex's transformation. To illustrate, meet Alex, a software engineer who was promoted to lead a small team. Initially, Alex struggled. He had the technical know-how, high competence, but in meetings he was so task-focused that he often gave off a cold vibe. He rarely made eye contact when team members spoke. His body language was stiff and he gave curt feedback. The team started feeling disengaged. Some even thought Alex was angry or disappointed in them, when in reality, he was just deep in thought and a bit shy. Recognizing this, Alex made a conscious effort to adjust his cues. He began each meeting with a bit of small talk, e.g., "How was your weekend?" to show warmth. He made sure to smile and nod when others shared ideas. Importantly, he didn't drop his competence cues. He still drove the agenda and laid out clear decisions. but now with a friendlier delivery. The effect was noticeable within weeks. One colleague told Alex that the team felt more comfortable approaching him with problems, and upper management observed that Alex's team seemed more energized and cooperative. By dialing up his warmth cues to complement his competence, Alex became a more charismatic leader, one who could rally his team, not just direct them. In the workplace, charisma can accelerate your career. It helps in acing interviews, earning trust from your boss and peers, persuading clients, and building networks. Professional success isn't just about having the right answers. It's also about inspiring confidence in others so they believe in your answers. So next time you're at work, try this. Stand a little taller, look colleagues in the eye, and give a genuine smile or word of appreciation. Combine it with the substance of your work and notice how people respond. You may find doors opening and conversations flowing with less resistance. That's the charisma effect. Charisma. In social life. Outside of work, charisma plays a huge role in our social lives. It helps us make friends, navigate group situations, and leave positive impressions on the people we meet. Whether you're at a party, meeting your partner's family, or just chatting with neighbors, being able to send the right warmth and competence cues can set others at ease and make you more memorable, in a good way. Casual gatherings and parties. Social events can sometimes be intimidating, especially if you walk into a room where you don't know anyone. Here, warmth cues are your best friend. Approachable smile, a friendly greeting, and open body language can help you connect with new people quickly. For instance, if you arrive at a friend's party and see a group chatting, you might approach with a relaxed posture, make eye contact with someone in the group, and say hello with a smile. Even before you introduce yourself, those cues signal, "I'm friendly, I'd love to join you." Most groups will welcome that. Compare that to someone who stands in a corner looking at their phone or with arms crossed. Others might assume that person isn't interested in talking, or is just shy, and thus not make an effort either. By simply uncrossing your arms, putting your phone away, and looking around with a pleasant expression, you're broadcasting that you're open to interaction. Now, where do competence cues come in socially? In friendly contexts, competence might not mean demonstrating your resume skills. It's more about showing confidence in yourself so others feel at ease. People often take emotional cues from the most confident-seeming person in a group. If you appear comfortable and self-assured, standing upright, speaking clearly, others will feel more comfortable around you. It's like you're silently saying, "I'm comfortable being here, and you can feel comfortable with me too." Social competence also includes being a good conversationalist, listening well, warmth, but also contributing your own stories or opinions, confidence. If someone asks, "What do you do for fun?" a charismatic response might be delivered with enthusiasm about your interests, warmth through positive energy, and a clear, confident voice, competence, then flipping it back to them, "What about you?" showing warmth or interest in them. It's this back and forth dance. Navigating new friendships. Consider a scenario. Jordan moves to a new city and doesn't know anyone yet. He decides to join a local sports club to meet people. The first day, he could quietly show up, do the activity, and leave, which might keep him mostly invisible. But Jordan instead tries to show charisma. He arrives a bit early and introduces himself to one of the regulars with a smile, a handshake, and a friendly, confident tone. "Hey, I'm Jordan. Mind if I join today? I'm new in town." His warm approachability immediately makes the other person feel at ease, and his confident delivery suggests this is someone worth talking to. During the game, Jordan cheers others on, displaying warmth and positivity. After, he casually mentions a cool cafe he found in town, inviting others along for a post-game coffee. Leadership, a bit of confident initiative paired with social warmth. By the end of the day, Jordan has a couple of new acquaintances and maybe future friends, all because he projected openness and self-assuredness rather than waiting on the sidelines. Being proactive socially often requires that mix of warmth, so people don't find you pushy, and competence, confidence, so people trust your initiative. Group dynamics. In any friend group or social circle, charismatic individuals often serve as the glue that holds everyone together or the spark that gets conversations going. They use warmth cues to include people, like noticing the quiet person and asking for their opinion with genuine interest, and competence cues to steer the mood, perhaps confidently changing the topic if things get awkward, or telling a funny story with great delivery that everyone enjoys. Social competence might also mean knowing when to dial things back. For example, humor is a fantastic warmth tool, but it takes social savvy, competence, to use it appropriately without derailing the conversation or offending. Charismatic people tend to be perceptive. They read the room, noticing others' cues, and adapt. If the group is more low-key, they might tone down high energy signals to match, still warm, but not overwhelmingly boisterous. If the group needs a lift, they might amplify positive energy. In essence, they lead socially, but in a kind, inclusive way. One more aspect. Trustworthiness. In social life, as friendships deepen, being charismatic also involves consistency between your cues and actions. If you consistently show up for friends, listen to them, and also share about yourself confidently, you build a reputation as someone who is both kind and strong, a pillar in your circle. Think of someone you know who you feel you could call in a crisis. Chances are they have high warmth. You know they care about you. And high competence. You trust their advice or help. Strive to be that person in your social world by honing these cues. In summary, charisma in social life is about making others feel good around you while also giving them a sense that you're comfortable with yourself. Warmth cues make you approachable and likable. Competence cues, in a social sense, make you interesting and worth paying attention to. Together, they can help you form connections that might turn into lasting friendships. Charisma in public speaking and presentations, public speaking, be it on a stage, in a classroom, or even on Zoom, is often cited as one of people's greatest fears. But it's also a scenario where mastering charisma can have an enormous impact. Great speakers are essentially wielding warmth and competence cues to engage their audience. Let's break down how you can use these cues when all eyes and ears are on you. Stage presence. When you take the podium or stand in front of others, first impressions form fast, even faster than in one-on-one settings, since an audience is collectively sizing you up. Competence cues will help establish your credibility from the get-go. This means starting with strong body language. Stand tall, plant your feet confidently, and take a moment to survey the room with your eyes. A brief silence while you make eye contact with the audience can actually draw them in. It projects calm authority. You're not rushing or nervous. When you begin speaking, do so in a clear, projected voice. A pro tip. Speak from your diaphragm and slightly slower than your normal pace for the first sentence. This ensures you sound controlled and clear, not hurried. These initial cues tell the audience, this speaker is confident and worth listening to. If your hands tremble, try to keep gestures smooth or rest one hand lightly on the podium. Many speakers find that once they get past the first minute, nerves settle. Competence cues at the start can carry you through that initial jitters phase. Interestingly, the audience usually wants you to succeed. They're hoping to enjoy or learn from you. So demonstrating competence early makes them feel relieved. Okay, this person knows what they're doing. Now, holding attention goes beyond just looking confident. Warmth cues are vital to keep the audience connected with you. Ever notice how the best TED Talk speakers often start with a personal story or a joke? Storytelling is a warmth cue in action. It humanizes you and creates an emotional bond. When you share a relatable anecdote or a gentle self-deprecating laugh, you become more than just an authority. You become likable and real. Even a large audience will respond to warmth. They'll lean in, perhaps smile or chuckle along, and feel a rapport with you. Throughout your talk, continue to use warmth cues like eye contact. Try to engage different parts of the audience, not just one person or the floor, and facial expressiveness. Show enthusiasm with smiles or appropriate emotion when telling a serious story. This makes listeners feel as if you're speaking to them, not at them. Balancing content and connection. A charismatic speaker balances competence, delivering valuable content clearly, and warmth, connecting with the audience. If you focus only on competence, rattling off data, reading verbatim from slides in a monotone, you risk losing the audience's interest even if the information is important. People's attention wanes if they don't feel a human connection. Conversely, if you focus only on warmth, being funny and friendly but offering no substance or structure, the audience might enjoy the moment but walk away feeling, that was entertaining, but I didn't learn anything. The sweet spot is combining both. For example, you might present an important statistic, then illustrate it with a quick story or analogy to make it resonate. Use competent language and speak with passion. Vary your vocal tone. Maybe serious and authoritative when discussing facts, then more playful or earnest when sharing examples. This vocal variety itself is a cue that keeps people engaged. A study on charismatic speaking found that great public speakers often modulate their volume and pace to maintain interest. They might slow down for a critical point, showing command and confidence, and then speed up slightly when telling an exciting story, showing energy and warmth. This keeps the talk from being monotonous. Handling nerves or hiccups. Even charismatic speakers face the unexpected, a microphone screech, a forgotten line, an awkward question. How you handle these moments can define the impression you leave. Competence cues would have you maintain composure. Pause, take a breath, perhaps sip water, no rush. Warmth cues would be to acknowledge the situation with a bit of humor or authenticity. For instance, if you blank out on a word, you might smile and say, "Isn't it funny how the perfect word escapes us when we need it?" This gets a gentle laugh and buys you a second to recover, while showing you're comfortable enough to admit a tiny slip. That vulnerability actually boosts warmth because the audience empathizes with you. Who hasn't been in that spot? Then you continue confidently, proving your competence. This combo can turn a potential negative into a charming moment. Charismatic speaker in action. Consider a real-world example. Think of a figure like Martin Luther King Jr. delivering the "I Have a Dream" speech. His posture was upright, competence, his voice strong and clear, competence, but he also smiled and conveyed hope and empathy, warmth, when appropriate. He told the dream as a story with emotional crescendos, warmth, yet laced it with compelling ideals and logical structure, competence. The result? An unforgettable, charismatic delivery that moved millions. Not all of us are MLK, but we can apply the same principles whether we're presenting to 5 people or 500. If public speaking scares you, start small. Practice in front of a mirror or a friend, and focus on one warmth cue and one competence cue. For instance, work on posture, stand straight, and smiling at least once every minute or so as you speak, or work on eliminating filler words, competence, and using a personal example, warmth. With time, these cues become more natural. You'll find that engaging an audience is less about flawless rhetoric and more about how you make them feel combined with the clarity of the message you deliver. By being mindful of your warmth and competence signals, you can turn even a simple toast or team update into a moment of connection and impact. Charisma in dating and relationships? Charisma isn't just for public arenas. It plays a pivotal role in our personal and romantic lives too. When it comes to dating and relationships, that blend of warmth and competence can enhance attraction, improve communication, and build deeper trust between partners. Essentially, you want to show someone, I like you and care about you, warmth, while also, I am confident and worth your respect, competence. How does that translate into dating scenarios? Let's explore. First dates and first impressions. A first date is basically a high-stakes first impression with the added element of potential romance. Both people are keenly reading each other's cues to sense compatibility. Warmth cues are crucial here. They signal approachability and interest. Smiling when you greet your date, making friendly eye contact, and engaging in polite, positive conversation rather than, say, interrogating or complaining, all set a comfortable tone. Small acts of consideration are also warmth cues. Things like holding a door open, putting your phone away to fully listen, or complimenting something you genuinely appreciate about them. That color looks great on you, or I love your laugh. These actions show kindness and that you value their company. Yet, it's equally important to convey some competence as confidence. After all, confidence is often cited as one of the most attractive traits. This doesn't mean bragging about your achievements. It means carrying yourself with self-assurance. Mind your posture when you're walking into the restaurant or sitting at the table, no slouching into your spaghetti. Speak clearly about your thoughts and opinions. If the topic of favorite movies comes up, don't be afraid to share why you passionately love a certain film, even if you worry it's a guilty pleasure. Owning who you are is a sign of confidence. Also, decision-making on a date can show competence. E.g., if your date asks, where should we sit? Taking the initiative by suggesting a nice spot rather than the, I don't know, where do you want to sit? Ping-pong indefinitely, shows a small dose of leadership, which many appreciate. Of course, balance it by being attentive to their preferences. Warmth. I prefer that cozy booth by the window. Does that sound good to you? Body language of attraction. Nonverbal cues play a huge role in signaling romantic interest. Leaning in when your date is talking, angling your body toward them, and even mirroring their posture or gestures subtly, as discussed earlier, creates a sense of intimacy and synchronicity. If you're interested in someone, your eyes and smile often give it away. Maintaining a soft gaze and smiling at little things they say shows you enjoy their company. Touch can be a powerful warmth cue as well. A light, appropriate touch on the arm when laughing at a joke, or a warm hug at the end of the date if it went well. Studies have found that eye contact and physical warmth, like touch, can trigger the release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone, fostering a sense of connection and trust. In one famous psychology experiment, simply having 2 strangers maintain eye contact for an extended period increased feelings of attraction and connection between them. So that old advice of look into their eyes isn't just a cliche. It actually helps 2 people feel closer. Just be sure to keep it natural. Intense, unbroken stares can cross into creepy if not reciprocated. Pay attention to their cues, too. If they're returning your gaze and smiling, you're on the right track. Now, competence cues on a date might also include showing emotional stability and authenticity. Charisma isn't about playing games. It's about confidence and being genuine. For example, if something awkward happens, you spill a drink, a competent cue is not to panic. Instead, maybe chuckle and handle it calmly. Whoops, guess I got a little too excited gesturing. 1 second while I grab some napkins. This shows you can handle little adversities with grace. Or, if a sensitive topic comes up, showing you can discuss it calmly and thoughtfully indicates emotional competence. Essentially, you're saying, I'm secure with myself. That assurance is attractive. Long-term relationships. Charisma matters even after the initial dating phase. In relationships, we sometimes forget to maintain those positive cues because we get comfortable, which is great, but continuing to show warmth and respect keeps the spark alive. Something as simple as smiling when your partner comes home from work can brighten their day, versus greeting them with a list of complaints or barely looking up from your task. Listening intently when they talk about their day, putting aside distractions, is a warmth cue that says, "You matter to me." On the competence side, handling challenges together, like planning a trip or solving a household issue, with cooperation and confidence strengthens mutual respect. If you calmly troubleshoot a problem instead of melting down or always deferring, your partner likely sees you as reliable and strong. That doesn't mean you can't have vulnerabilities. In fact, showing vulnerability at times, like admitting you're stressed and need support, can also be a warmth move that deepens intimacy. Charismatic communication in relationships is about being present, positive, and proactive. Case study: Maria's dating shift. Let's tell the story of Maria. Maria was always nervous on first dates. She feared awkward silences and was so worried about saying the wrong thing that she came across as tense and distant. When her date spoke, she leaned in slightly and listened, responding with, "That's really interesting," and follow-up questions. She also shared her own stories more openly, instead of holding back out of shyness, even proudly mentioning the recent 5K race she ran, something she was proud of but used to downplay. That blend of enthusiasm and confidence was new for her. The result? The date went much better. The conversation flowed, and her date commented, "I feel like I can really talk to you. You're so easy to get along with." A second date was scheduled, and eventually they entered a relationship. Maria later reflected that letting her warmth show, expressing excitement, kindness, while also believing in her own worth made all the difference. By adjusting her cues, smiling, eye contact, expressive talking, she not only appeared more charismatic, she felt more at ease and authentic. In romantic contexts, charisma can increase both initial attraction and long-term harmony. It's about continually communicating, "I value you and enjoy our time," warmth, and "You can count on me and I value myself," competence. When both partners do this, it creates a positive feedback loop of mutual appreciation and respect. One caveat: all these strategies should come from a sincere place. If warmth is faked or flattery is used manipulatively, people sense it eventually. True charisma is honest. It's showing the best of yourself and genuinely appreciating the other person. If you focus on that, your natural charm will shine through these cues. Conclusion: your charisma journey and call to action charisma is often seen as an almost magical trait, something you either have or you don't. But as we've explored, it is very much a learnable skill. It comes down to mastering the language of cues, those small signals of warmth and competence that constantly tell others who we are. By becoming aware of your own cues, you've taken the first step on your charisma journey. Maybe you've realized you tend to slouch, competence cue alert, or that you could smile more when meeting new people. Perhaps you see the power in simply listening with genuine interest or speaking with a bit more confidence. She often sat with arms crossed and eyes down, overthinking every word. After some frustrating experiences, Maria decided to consciously tweak her approach. On her next date, she made an effort to use her body language differently. She kept her arms relaxed at her sides or gesturing, reminded herself to smile genuinely, and maintained soft eye contact. These might seem like minor tweaks, but as the research and stories above show, they can produce major results. From landing a dream job, to forging a new friendship, to igniting a romantic connection, to inspiring an audience. The secret language of charisma is subtle but incredibly powerful. Warmth cues make people feel valued, understood, and comfortable around you. Competence cues assure them that you're capable, confident, and someone worth following. When you fluently combine the two, you create that spark that people can't quite put their finger on, the special something that defines a charismatic person. And importantly, this isn't about being perfect or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about bringing out your best self and making sure your intentions, which are likely good, align with your outward behaviors. As you practice these cues, do it in your style. It should still feel like you, just the most engaging version of you. Try this experiment in the coming days. Pick one situation, maybe your next work meeting or a social outing, and plan to adjust a couple of cues. Stand or sit a bit straighter, use a warm smile or two, and maintain eye contact when someone speaks. You might be surprised at how people react. You could notice more smiles back, more attentiveness, or just a general ease in the interaction. That positive feedback will reinforce your efforts. If you enjoyed this extended exploration, we'd love for you to join our community. Please subscribe for more fascinating breakdowns of human behavior and tips to improve your own life. We regularly explore topics from body language and emotional intelligence to the latest psychology research that can help you grow. If you have thoughts or personal experiences about today's topic, feel free to share them. Let's keep the conversation going. By implementing what you've learned about warmth and competence cues, you're not just improving how others perceive you. You're also likely to feel more confident and connected in every interaction. So why not give it a try? Unlock your inner charisma and see where it leads you. And remember to subscribe for more content like this. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and take care of your mind and relationships. We'll see you in the next deep dive. Charisma, like any language, gets easier and more natural the more you speak it. Thank you for listening to this deep dive into the psychology of cues and charisma. We hope you found these insights clear, warm, and above all, useful.